Alright, what's going on, Buffalo Pinball, Nick Lane, we got Dr. Ben. We're in a game room series. We're going to look at Ben's collection, which is pretty impressive to say the least. So we're going to wrap around, we're going to start with some arcade games, and then we're going to get to the pinball machine. So, Ben, what's going on? What we got here?
So this was my very first game. In college, we had a real Robotron 2084 machine. It was like the smaller version, and I wanted to have one again to play, and it was hard to find a nice one, so I just built the part you interact with and emulated it on a Raspberry Pi, which is what this was, and it was very popular among the kids, and so I made several more. So I think the next one was Rampage, and then there's a Tempest, and there's a Q*bert, and the Q*bert really has a real knocker in it, and these are all run on a Raspberry Pi. I tried to make, I built the cabinet myself. I tried to make it look like the real arcade cabinet. And then, let's see, Stargate. Oh, wait till you're...
We're coming.
Right. We're coming. Kevin Manny on the video, everybody. There we go.
So
What's up, everybody?
Some of these, like Stargate, also play Defender, which is essentially the same game with just one extra button. This plays a few games, including Fix It Felix Jr. This one I actually made two of. One of them's the other one belongs to a friend of mine who lives in Indiana. Because I thought it would be just as much work to make two as to make one, but it's actually like twice as much work.
What I appreciate about it is, I mean, I'm not an arcade guy, but I appreciate the fact that you've got arcade machines and you're not taking up a lot of space of it, right? I mean, they take up a lot of space. That's exactly right.
So I have one regular arcade. I have a Spy Hunter upstairs in our office. We have one regular game that's but most of them are just. Because otherwise we'd have one pin here, and instead of one pin, because that's a hallway, we've got 3 games there, we have 4 games here. I play them a little bit, but like mostly people come over, like we'll have other parties of non-pinball people, and they like to play these a lot, so.
There we go. All right, awesome. Well, let's get to the bread and butter, which is Ben's awesome pinball collection. We'll start here with Batman 66. A Stern game. So you've had this for a few years, right?
I had this since it came out. So initially, my friend James, who we've been good friends in the hobby for a long time, I think he initially ordered it, and then there was some issue, like he didn't, it was eventually delivered here, and so I had it right when it came out. And the code's evolved a lot since then. I mean, it's a game that I've had for 3 or 4 years, so I think it's a pretty good game. I remember watching the shows with my dad when I was a kid, so it has some nostalgia value for me.
Nice. That's the premium edition. Then we've got Star Wars, which came out a couple years ago. This is the Star Wars limited edition version,
Yeah, this is the limited edition. So I'm, of course, a huge Star Wars fan. I'm a huge Ritchie fan. I had this game since it came out. I'm actually a big fan of the game. I know it's kind of a polarizing game, but I like that it has all the video assets from the movie, and I actually don't mind the multipliers and all that. So I think it's got the R2-D2 topper there.
And you lit up the side art here, right?
Yeah, so I actually did this. So somebody came out with a mod to do this, but before I put EL paper, so I did this myself.
Oh wow!
And then this was the, I think the next LE after this was Iron Maiden, which this didn't come with Invisiglass. It didn't come with a mirrored back glass. They really didn't go very far, and it didn't come with any side art. And so I thought it'd be cool if the side art matched this external part. So I actually made this myself. It's made of galvanneal, which is basically just galvanized steel that I designed. This had somebody laser cut it and powder coat it, and I put some mirrored, it's like foil behind it. So it kind of looks, I think it fits the theme a lot. I actually made some extra ones and sold a few of them. So I thought it kind of belonged there, and did that. I've got the topper on there.
Next up we've got Tron. So this is actually a Tron Pro. This is back in the day where they did have a Tron LE, but this is actually the Pro model, and a collector in Buffalo, John Barsh, kind of went to town on it. But I used to own this. This was my game. I wasn't the original owner. It was my game, and it didn't look like this when I sold it to John, but he did it up, and now Ben owns it. So talk to us a little bit about Tron.
So this is a game that I saw John Barsh listed it, and he takes great care of his games, and he'd added all the mods, like this EL lighting mod. I think I added the motorcycles, and I may have added I had like a blue DMD when I bought it, and the color DMD. So I added the color DMD, the lit that stainless steel thing with the EL paper I did myself. So it's a great game. I mean, it's kind of a simpler game, but it's kind of a classic.
Yeah.
I've got the Flynn sign above it, so I feel like it's kind of like a centerpiece of the game room. I mean, I remember the movie back when I was a kid. I mean, this is of course based on the newer movies. It's a kind of a simpler game, but one that I think it'd be hard to replace later. So I've thought about selling it, but I've still holding on to it. So it's
Yeah. For non-pinball people, this is a game that has really shot up in price since it came out. So if you were to sell it and try to get back, it's difficult. Hopefully they rerun it one of these days. But this is actually, when it came out, this is a 3D lenticular back glass. They did rerun this game a couple years after it came out, and it was a 2D version. So not only that, Ben's got like the best kind of 3D version, and I totally screwed up by selling it. So
Yeah.
This is when you sell a game and you know you've messed up. Lesson learned in life.
I hate selling games, and
Yeah.
you sometimes you just have to. And then Stranger Things is like this. This is a theme that I love. I grew up in Los Alamos, New Mexico, so the whole secret laboratory and this whole thing sort of resonated with me. So this is a game that I love based on theme. Initially, it kind of got a bad rap, I think, and maybe rightfully so, because it's a hard game to get to play properly. But I think it really has come around. I've got the topper, and this is one that I'll probably keep forever. And I got a lot of this is my childhood, like the playing D&D, and a lot of the themes of this game really resonated with me very well.
So this game, this is the LE version, and the premium and LE version of this game has actually a projector. So the projector's in this apron right here, and it's projecting on the screen right there. It can also project on the ramps. So the ramps are actually white right now because it's not really projecting on it. But that's a pretty cool feature in this game. That's not on the Pro Edition. All right, moving along, we've got a Star Trek. It's another Steve Ritchie game.
This was my very first game ever, so this is kind of...
wow.
Yeah, this is my very first game. So
When did you start collecting then?
So I started collecting right when this came out. So it would have been, 2015, 2013, somewhere around there.
How did you get into collecting pinball machines?
So I started out with video games. So I started out with the Robotron and these video games. And my wife actually had grown up. They had one game growing up, which was a Xenon, and I have a Xenon Backlash, which we'll get to next. And I had a Xenon for a while. It's not a great game, but actually my wife said, "Why don't we get a pinball machine?" And I said, "Yeah, let's get one."
Does she regret that now?
I don't think she does. I think she would say she doesn't. And so I thought, well, I don't know how to take care of a pinball machine, so I'll just buy a new one. And at that time the options were, I mean, I've always been a big Star Trek fan. Actually, here's an interesting hit. My college roommate is Justin Lin, who directed one of the Star Trek movies.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he did not direct the ones that these are based on. He directed a later one, and he directed Fast and Furious. And so I thought, I was always a fan more of the original series with Shatner and all that, and I watched the Next Generation in college. So this is a theme that kind of resonated with me. I'm not as big a fan of the newer movies, but I think it's a great game. I love Steve Ritchie. So this is our first game. The next game after that was Circus Voltaire, which I've sold, and Monster Bash, which we'll see later.
All right, we should talk, before we move on with the rest of the collection, we should talk about this. I would say monstrosity, but that's in the negative. I'm impressed by this. This is Ben's streaming reg. So Ben streams on Twitch under Chrome Candy.
Yeah, Chrome Candy Pinball.
Yeah.
Twitch. So this is. So I always wanted I was inspired by Kevin and you guys actually, because you guys were streaming, and I thought maybe I'll get into this. I mean, a lot of people are streaming just stream one game at a time, and I get kind of bored of a game after half an hour, so I want to be able to change games. So I kind of initially was kind of inspired. I think this kind of thing straddling. I don't know, Carl. And other people have kind of done this, and what's a little bit different is I've got the laptop on the rig, so I don't have to have. A lot of people have a PC somewhere else to do it, so I've got everything kind of on here. So I started simple with just a laptop on the rig, and then I added, well, it's hard to look at the laptop, so I added another screen, and then I added more cameras. So I've got the this thing, so you can push the button to see which game you're on, so you can change easily, and it'll automatically change it so it shows the DMD and like whatever. Sometimes it'll have, like on Stranger Things, it'll show the projected screen, or on Guns N' Roses it'll show the back. So it automatically sort of crops out of the things on the screen that you want to see. So I think it's got 5 or 6 cameras on here. So kind of a hobby of mine that I've kind of messed with, and people always ask me if I'll build them one, and it's really too complicated to mess with.
I built one too, and it's fun, but not something you'd want to do all the time.
And a lot of this stuff is stuff that's like this is just something that I found at work that was getting thrown away, so I grabbed, and so it's not like you can even order all this stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Show us the Xenon backlash.
So the Xenon backlash.
Oh, up here we got the DMD clock, right?
Oh yeah, so the DMD clock, and then the liquor shelf. So I have this weird. So we remodeled the basement. So initially, like this area back here was unfinished, and this was like a low-end finished basement. So you like redid this whole area eventually. But there was this weird spot that I wanted to have my liquor there, and it wasn't. So I built these shelves and had like an Arduino control the lighting, so you can kind of see the different alcohol options.
Looks awesome.
So we initially, like I mentioned, my wife, like her dad had one game in their basement. It was Xenon. They'd already sold it by the time I met her, but so we had a Xenon for a while. It was a nice example, but it's not a great game. And so I sold it to make space a few years ago, and then I saw on Craigslist somebody listed a Xenon back glass for sale, and so of course I went out and bought it. It was over by my friend James's place out in Spencerport, and there was a guy had it was like a regular garage sale, and this was sitting up against a tree.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
And so I went out there, and it's like both layers of the back glass, and I was talking to the guy, and apparently he had a Xenon that I think he initially used to route back in the day, and he was keeping it in his basement, and his basement flooded, and the Xenon got ruined, and he threw it away, but he saved the back glass, thinking he would do something with it eventually, but never did, so he's just going to sell it. And so so all I had was the back glass, and this back glass, as far as I know, has never been remade, or maybe you can buy one layer of it. And so I wanted to the initial Xenon back glass had maybe like 4 or so. It's a 2-layered back glass, which you don't see much, like Space Invaders and a few other games had it. And it had like these lights around the edges. So I made lights that I controlled on Arduino. So it shows, so there's like one layer that goes kind of behind. So the original back glass is kind of a pattern like this and didn't have as many LEDs as that. So that's kind of an homage to the original. But then I also did like color changing stuff, which the original obviously didn't do because it was just incandescent bulbs and not even that many. And the back changes and stuff. So I kind of, this is kind of just I think this is probably the best part of the game is the back glass, and the art is just amazing on that. I wish maybe I'll buy another one someday, but this game has some significance to us because it was like the game that Leah had growing up.
Awesome.
And I think it's also a great game as far as the art.
All right, so now we got Beetles, which came out again a few years ago. This is what model is this?
This is the regular. I forget what they call it, gold edition. Yeah. So this is a game that I initially I really like Sea Witch. And before this came out, I was actually kind of negotiating with a guy in Canada to buy a restored Sea Witch, and he wanted me to buy some other games with it, and we never really came together. And then this came out, and it was kind of like, I'm not a huge Beatles fan. It's more like my parents' generation. My mom's a huge Beatles fan, but I really loved the game. So I remember it came out, and I thought, this is too simple of a game. I'm not paying that much for it. And I went out to Pocketeer and played it, and I just loved it. And then I was, I think Todd, a local guy that routes games, put one on location, and I played that one a lot. And I was like, I have to buy it. And so I was trying to get rid of a Wizard of Oz that had some bad light boards, and he offered to trade me for this, so I got that.
So for context, this is a game that was based on a game that came out in the early 80s called Sea Witch. And it's almost an identical layout to that. So it's kind of a more or less classic, simplistic layout. But it's there's not a lot of Beatles out there. They didn't make a lot of it.
I think it's limited to like 1964. Yeah. And I don't even think they made all of them. But I mean, it has like an extra spinner that wasn't on the original, and the layout's a little bit easier. And it has modes, which the original. So I think it actually, like, it has the stuff from the original. All the rules are there from the original game, but it also has the modes and of course the Beatles music. I mean, I think it's a great game.
Yeah. All right, moving on to AC/DC. This is the Lucy edition, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it doesn't. It's not the Lucy.
You got the custom back glass.
It's the
That's
custom
right.
like RX back glass. So this was John Barsh's game. So I've always been an AC/DC fan. This was back in the day when for a while they made these and they stopped making them, and it was hard to find them. John Barsh is a local collector who's known for taking well care of his games. And I think he ordered this, and it was like the I forget. There's like people in Michigan that like a refinery people.
Oh yeah.
So this is the first one they made. So this is like refinery edition #1. And John Barsh bought it, and he added like a car amp in here and stuff. So it really like, and it had the original one had like the 12-inch subwoofer and all this stuff. So you can see, like that's John Barsh's work. I can't take credit for that.
Look at that.
And so I remember, I think when I bought that Tron off of John Barsh, I saw this and I was like, give me a call if you ever want to sell this. And then eventually he agreed to sell it to me. And so I mean, I like Steve Ritchie's games. I like the theme.
Nice. All right, moving on. This is, by the way, if you haven't figured this out yet, this is the kind of music.
It was like a music wall,
yeah, it's become that. So this is Metallica. This came out, I think, in 2014. AC/DC was 2012. This is the premium edition, Ben?
This is the Pro. So
It's the Pro.
Actually, this was James.
Look at this.
So
Okay.
my friend James, this was like he bought. This was I think his
That's
first.
not the Pro backglass.
That's
though.
a premium backglass.
Ah,
So this was
okay.
James's first game that he bought new in box. So when I met James, he had this.
And since then, he's bought 300 more.
Yeah, like 300 more, and he was going to sell it, and so I bought it, and I thought at the time, well, I'll play the crap out of this for like 2 or 3 months, and I'll just sell it because he gave me a good price on it, and I kept adding mods and I powder coated it. It's got the metal apron. So this thing here that this like it had just lights in there. So actually that's the thing. I made like a piece of plastic with those skulls, and I've sold probably 1,000 of those.
That's a great mod.
Yeah, for $5 each. So I've already like made my money back. But and I've added a ton of mods, and I added the lighting mod, and I added the Sparky that Dirty Donnie painted himself, and the color DMD, and so it's. I even have a topper that I'm going to custom that I haven't wired it up yet, but it's the kind of game where I initially wasn't thinking I was going to keep it that long, but I've really gotten into it, and maybe eventually I'll sell it, but it's I like the theme, and it's a fun game.
So I mean, there's so many custom mods on it. It's like it's a Pro, but it's like your own kind of premium version.
No, I added the spinners, I added
Yeah.
like the lighting, I added the Sparky, I added these skulls that light up with the different lights, the color DMD. I mean, it's kind of I kind of went nuts with it.
All right, moving on to the next music pin.
Iron Maiden. So this is a game that initially my friend James got. I was like, I don't need to get this, and then I figured I do need to get it. I'm not a huge Iron Maiden fan, but I think the game shoots really well. I really like the rolls. It's probably I think it's still probably the best Stern game in terms of like I like the original layout. I like how it shoots. I think in his later games he got more maybe a little more too difficult, but I think I really like the game.
Yeah, that's that came out in maybe 2017, I think. Maybe 2018,
What's it,
2017.
Yeah, it was like right after Star Wars, so maybe yeah.
Yeah.
And I bought this secondhand from a guy in New Jersey, so.
Okay. And then this is this your newest game?
So I got Guns N' Roses and Led Zeppelin on the same day.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I ordered I ordered the Guns N' Roses CE, and like you had to order it like the minute it came out, or you wouldn't have got one. So I ordered that, and from the same distributor, I ordered Led Zeppelin later, and just by chance, he got them both and shipped them together. So I got them both on the same day. I did a stream where I unboxed them together. People always ask me what my favorite one is. I've played them both almost exactly the same number of times. I think they're both great games. I feel very lucky that I don't have to choose between them.
So the answer is get both. There you
So
go.
the answer is get both.
There you go. All right, and then we've got this is the last of the music pins.
So Guns N' Roses Collector's Edition. I mean, the cabinet's just amazing on this thing. I mean, the artistry and everything in terms of the light show, the cabinet, the powder coating. I mean, the skull is just like. I don't know if you can capture it on the video, but it's just like the cabinet's just like glass on this.
These are radicals. Is that how you say it?
I think it. I mean, on the CEs, it's like all of them are like this. So this, I don't even think I really have any mods on this.
No, it's beautiful.
You don't need it.
You don't really need it, yeah. So I don't have anything on it, but it's, we unboxed it. And it's a great game. I think it's Jersey Jack's best game.
This is the collector's
it's
edition.
just amazing where the band signed stuff. I mean, even Axl is notorious for not signing. I mean, it's like the drumsticks. I mean, it's like the call outs of the game.
Let's just say, so there's only 500 of these made, just like the other, the LEs are limited edition, the collector's edition for Jersey Jack. So this is 169 of 500. So it's a work of art. This game is absolutely beautiful.
It actually is. I mean, it's a great game.
All right, let's go into
So,
Ben's other game.
so we've got kind of this room here, which we use as like a home theater. This is an original Fathom. I always kind of like the classics. Most people don't know it, but Fathom actually came with these plastic pieces to make a topper. I put some lighting under there, so it kind of looks like she's looking down into the water. But everything on this is original. It was restored by somebody in Europe, and I bought it off a guy. But I always kind of wanted to have a nice, I didn't want to be the guy that just had only new Sterns. But I mean, this is of the games that came out in the early '80s. I think this is probably the best one.
So is that a replacement playfield that's clear coated and everything?
I think it's my understanding, it's a new original stock that was clear coated.
Wow, that's amazing. It looks great, and you got like chrome side armor
It's
and
got
everything.
chrome side armor. It's like the restoration. I mean, even if you look underneath the playfield, like everything underneath is chromed. Even it's like
That's awesome.
yeah,
Game looks great.
All right.
So I've got
We'll start from one of my favorites.
Oh shit.
It's Big Buck Hunter, but you get the reloaded version, which is...
got Big Buck Hunter HD Reloaded, so it's the online. So they have it online, so home users you can do it for like $40 a month, and you can play online, and it's very popular when we have people who aren't pinball people come over. I mean, everybody likes this thing. So
And you got a topper, which is important.
and the topper's only $100, which is like nothing for pinball. I don't even think you can get a pinball topper for that. But it's like I have a light on there from when I used to stream it in my bathrobe, which has now become legendary.
Alright, so Game of Thrones, this is the LE version of Game of Thrones.
This is LE, yep. So this is another Steve Ritchie game, which my wife loves the theme. I love the theme. I think they did a great job with the rules on this game. It's it's got a lot of depth to it, and I love the theme. I still play it a lot. So this is one that I don't think I'd ever sell, just because both my wife and I are into the theme, and I think it plays well.
And this is a classic. This is Monster Bash.
So this is the third game ever that I bought. This is an original one. I mean, this is always one that I wanted to have because I remember playing it. And it's an easy game. Like we have a lot of times parties where people aren't pinball people, and I think it's an easy game for the easier novice player to get into. It's also a game where you can get to the wizard mode. I probably get to the wizard mode like 1 out of 3 games. So it's
Is that an original or a remake?
That's an original. So I redid the cabinet with the decals. So I got one that I redid the powder coating. So this is like. Yeah, I initially bought this from a guy it was originally routed in Rochester, actually, and he bought it, and that was like Bruce had a cabinet that I bought off of him and then repainted and decaled and swapped everything over to the new cabinet. So this is Tales from the Crypt. It's probably going to be a temporary game for me. This is a game that just came up locally. I love the theme. It's a John board game. I think it's probably the best of the Data East games from this era. We just moved it in right before the stream. I had it at our friend James's place. It's a game that I always kind of wanted to play more, and one came up locally, so I figured we'd just get it and play it for a few months.
This is the oldest DMD game that you have, right? I mean, the oldest one that we saw was Fathom. But this game came out maybe like '94 or something like that. And then
maybe. I don't know. Monster Bash came out in '98.
Yeah. This is before. This is before Monster Bash.
It may come out before Monster Bash. I think this is like '93, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like in college. There was a few games around. This was not one that I remember from back in the day, but I always kind of thought the theme was cool.
Alright, so we got another limited edition game. This game came out in 2020. This is Avengers Affinity Quest LE. It's got the topper.
It's an LE, yeah. It's got the topper. I mean, I think the game shoots great. The rules are a little bit deep for my taste. I think the music and callouts could use a little. I wish it was a little bit better. I think it's a kind of this. This is one of the games where I think about. I could probably sell it because I'm always trying to get more stuff. But I think it's a great game.
All right, and then Elvira, House of Horrors.
So this actually belongs to my friend James, who we, right now I have a Deadpool LE, which should normally be in this spot, but we traded temporarily. This is a fun game, a very deep rule set with Lyman rules, and it's got the topper on it. My Deadpool LE did not have the topper, which is a sore point, but I ordered the topper. So they're remaking the topper, so I ordered one. Guardians. My wife and I love the movies. I actually think the game is pretty good. It's a very similar layout to Metallica. I think the rules are in some ways they may be a little deeper than Metallica. But it's a game that I still enjoy playing. So and we like the theme. I think initially the call-outs were kind of painful on this game, but
the bubbly.
Yeah, the bubbly. But I think somebody redid it, and that is sort of like Jurassic Park was kind of that way for me too.
So you have the replacement code on there?
I have the replacement. I don't know if there's any copies of the original code left. I've got my gaming PC, which I mostly use for Microsoft Flight Simulator, so that's the other thing I've got.
Oh yeah, look at that. Nice. Awesome.
All right, well, this is an amazing collection, Ben. Thanks for letting us come over.
Thanks,
and
Nick,
check
for
it
coming
out.
by. You're welcome anytime. Oh, look at that!
Look at that. Look at that. I'm absolutely terrified of what's going on in this scene.
You should be.
Yeah, that's like the perfect end of this segment.
Yeah.
So.
So if you're watching and you've got a game room that you want us to do a video tour of, keeping in mind that we're located in Western New York, hit us up at buffalopinball@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.